Okay, and welcome back. This is part 2 of episode 51 from the Bits and Pieces podcast. Joining me is Isaac.
Hey.
And obviously I'm Nick, so we'll lead into part 2. Isaac, have there been shows that you felt were canceled too early?
I don't know. I feel like there's been plenty of shows that have been canceled after they long should have been, but I have yet to come across a show that I think got canceled too early. I don't know. Quite honestly, I don't watch enough television to make that kind of determination, but I guess it's possible.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple. So, I started watching Agent Carter because I finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right.
Up until mid-season 3, so I got caught up for the most part. So I'm watching the rest of the episodes. But I started Agent Carter, which is based off Peggy Carter from Captain America.
Right.
She's that show is super cool. I like it a lot. Apparently, so did a ton of other people, but the ratings were never really great. But it always got like stellar reviews. That got canceled today, so it only lasted 2 seasons. But it was super cool. But I mean, realistically, given like, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's some other stuff. There's some stuff that happens in the most recent Marvel movies, pertaining her character, and then in general, like, just
played by the same actor.
Yeah. Haley Atwell, I believe is the actress's name. But I mean, in general, a lot of people were always hoping for her and Captain America to get together, and it's just like, that's not possible. She's like 80. You know what I mean? So in general, like, she had to have an ending to her arc. I mean, unfortunately, we weren't able to see her character progress from the 40s all the way up until 2000s. That's also unreasonable, though. But I was hoping for another like, you know, season. Because season 2 takes place in Los Angeles. She moves from New York to Los Angeles. Helps start the SSR in Los Angeles, which is the Strategic Scientific Reserve, which is like kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's S.H.I.E.L.D., but in the early days.
Yeah.
And she's in LA in the late 40s. So you have all that stuff. I don't know. It's really cool. It's filmed like a period piece. I like it, but you know, despite that, got canceled. So that's one show that I was going to suggest. Another one was, I don't know if you ever seen it, but it was called Spider-Man animated something, The Next Generation. It was on MTV, and it was like cel shaded, like semi 3D. Neil Patrick Harris was in it.
Really?
Yeah. It was really, really good. It was a good cartoon. It was really good, but it only lasted 1 season.
He voice acted Spider-Man?
No. He either voice acted Peter Parker or he did Norman Osborn. No, not Norman Osborn. Harry Osborn. It was one of the two. I forget who he voice acted. It was really good though. It actually kind of was on the canon of like the Tobey Maguire movies, like where he was in college at Columbia.
Yeah.
So it was in that canon. It took place like there, sort of like, okay, it took that idea that he was in college,
universe.
yeah, and then adapted it. It wasn't the exact same, but it was just, let's take the fact that he's in college, Mary Jane's his friend, that sort of thing. They sort of dated off and on, but right now she's dating Harry. They took that and then ran with it. So it was a good cartoon. It just got canceled too early. Its art style was really unique and cool. It was like, yeah, cel shading. I can't, like Wind Waker. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, but more like obviously realistic. It was people.
Yeah,
rather than like cartoons,
like
squares,
chibi.
Rather than chibi art, it was like people. But that's I guess the closest I can think of. Yeah, so it was kind of, yeah, the art style was really, really neat. Or A Scanner Darkly, if you've seen that movie. But the I don't know, the art style was really cool. It was unfortunate that it got canceled. I don't remember why though. I only remember watching like maybe 6 episodes when it was actually on. And then when it got on Netflix, I watched the whole season, and now it's not on Netflix anymore. But it's really good. I don't remember the exact name. I wanted to say it was like the next generation, new generation, or something like that. But it should have been Spider-Man the Animated Series by MTV.
Right.
If you search that, you'll find it.
All right.
Yeah. There's another show, gang related. Did you ever see that?
I've heard of it.
So that was a show on Fox. That was aired, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago. It was about a kid that grew up in El Barrio, right?
El Barrio.
El Barrio. Yeah, he was a badass. No, he was like star top A student and stuff. But I believe his parents were killed. And then he grew up with best friends with this other kid. But that kid's dad was like the leader of like that local Mexican gang. So he kind of took him under his wing, after his parents were killed, and they, provided for him, supported for the kid and stuff. So he kind of felt like he owed him.
Right.
So he ended up going to the army and doing that stuff. And then when he came back, they called in their favor and they asked him, "Hey, can you join the LAPD?" So he joined the LAPD. So he was like on the inside, And then not only that, but they put him on this elite gang task force. So he always kept the gang like one step ahead of the police. But then the show ended up taking a turn where obviously, he fell in love with somebody and that sort of like deal. But the thing was is that actually the gang got involved with like if it makes sense, the wrong type of people. I mean, okay, I get they're criminals, but I mean like arms dealers and like stuff that's like too big for
like they hit
gang.
the big leagues as far as criminal organizations
go.
go.
He's like, we can't do that. I can't protect you from stuff like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like running drugs like this? No. That sort of thing.
Right.
So he ended up in a moral conflict, and then he ended up having to decide, gang or the cops. And interestingly enough, he decides the gang. He ends up helping them pull like a job. And then they get chased by the LAPD like all up and down the downtown LA. And then he ends up getting like cornered in like in the LA River.
Right.
And he parks the truck, and then his partner was just like, "Go, you need to go." He goes, "And you know what? You need to leave this." Like that guy was like his like mentor. And he always told him, he's like, "Why you don't owe them anything, And
so he was in on the fact that he was helping them.
Yeah, he knew, that like this little crew they were the gang members.
Right.
So they were doing, the bad stuff, and he was with them, and they knew or that, that guy's mentor, I forget what his name was, but he told Cop Man, right? He was just like, "Dude, you need to just choose, but I think you should be the cop," because he goes, "What's this going to lead you? This is just going to make you die eventually." You know what I mean?
Right.
He's like, you can't be in this, and you don't owe him anything. So at the end, that his mentor sacrificed himself. So he took the fall and shot at the cops and stuff, so he got killed. And then our protagonist took off and ran away. And then as far as I know, the show just kind of ends abruptly, where he ends up like getting together with the girl that he met, which is the daughter to the police chief.
Oh wow.
But then she like gets kidnapped, and that's pretty much like where the show kind of like. I want to say it ended there, but they did retrieve her. But it was like a 5-minute. It was just like boom, we found her, she's safe, and it was like okay, they fought through this building to save her, but it was just kind of like
okay.
It was
like
just really
Mario
abrupt.
Rescued the princess, and that was it.
Yeah, it was really abrupt. So you could tell that the show got canceled mid-season, and they were just like, well, can we finish out our run because we have a lot of stuff already filmed, kind of thing.
Right.
They were just like, yep. So they were like, man, we were trying to carry that into the night, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I felt they had more stories to tell, but like at the beginning it moved a little slow. Then mid-season it got good, but then towards the end, like I think it ran for about 15 episodes. I want to say like episode 11 is when you could feel like suddenly the pacing got sped way up, and it was to finish the story they had, and they were starting to literally tie up loose ends at that point rather than leaving them open a little bit.
Right.
It was a good show though, very good. I liked it. Again, critical reception was decent. I don't want to say it was like amazing, but it was like Metacritic 70s, 75, that sort of thing. But the ratings were not great, and it was on a bad day because they had it on a really, really good day, like on a Tuesday night, and then for whatever reason they decided to move it to a Wednesday, and then from there they moved it to a Monday, and Mondays are typically not great.
Yeah,
For
it's
movie-
kind of like
for
the hell
TV.
of TV.
Yeah, so it was just like, what happened? Like, why would they move it? And they moved it 3 times during its run, so that's why it was kind of that made it even worse, you know.
Right.
And I remember they booted it for some reality show, which didn't even last. It was like a brand new reality show that
Right.
Fox had, and then all of a sudden that show died out even before Gang Related did. So they moved Gang Related to put this show in, and then that show still failed, which I think caused Gang Related to fail, because as soon as they moved it the first time, ratings dipped because people didn't know what day it was on anymore. Right. Then when they moved it again, ratings dipped even more, which was already in failing territory. So
it was doomed to fail trying to save
some.
show.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
You think it's worth a reboot?
I would like to see it again, but honestly, I would like to see it with like the same actors, because to me they hit it out of the ballpark. I can't remember anybody's name, but they were like semi-unknown. But that's what made it so good. They were really like, the team worked really well. Like even from the first episode, like there was no like, oh, the actors are warming up to each other. It was just like, no, they were really good. I really liked it.
So a lot of chemistry on set then.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think they should think about bringing it back. Let's see. What shows do you think that overstayed their welcome? You stated that.
Well, I mean, I'm sad to say this, but MythBusters had a really long run.
That's very true. MythBusters did have a long
But
run.
like, I guess maybe interest fell off like towards the later seasons.
You know where interest fell off for me when they started having all the other people like in on it?
Tori and Grant and
Yeah, they were good, but the thing was, and then it was just like, let's work 2 different myths at the same time.
yeah,
And it was just like, there's too much happening in this 1-hour episode at this point now.
right.
That sort of thing.
All right.
Because then sometimes they would be unrelated to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would just be like, wait, I gotta jump modes here. You know, at least when the main people did it, it was just 2 of them. It was even if they were doing 2 myths, they were related to each other.
Yeah.
You know, like can you unload a car from a trailer while going highway speeds and take off? And then the other myth was, can you do a J-turn and take off the opposite direction? But they were the same, they were related to each other, but they could do 2 separate ones at the same time.
Right.
That made sense because they're related to each other. Or like some of the ones with the guns, like
Right.
it was like you did 2 different ones, but they were related enough to each other where my mind didn't have to switch gears.
Right.
That sort of thing. I guess that's a byproduct of like, everybody like having a short attention span. But it was like really when you have to like juggle 2 completely different scientific like issues right now. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it was a little bit much. But I see what you're saying. What other shows did come to mind?
I don't know.
Someone's gonna comment Bits and Pieces podcast and be like, "Go die."
Oh wow, no, I would die a little bit on the inside if that was the case.
I wouldn't. I'd just be like, "Bye, leave."
I can't really think of anything else at the moment. I'm pretty sure there was another one. But as far as I can tell, well, there is something. Although this might like earn me the hatred of like middle-aged women everywhere.
Desperate Housewives,
No,
Sex and the City.
no. Maybe I'm not sure about those. But you've heard of like those like middle of the day soap operas like All of My Children and Days of Our Lives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things have been going on forever. I have no idea how they've continued running. I think they've been running since like before my mother was born.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those shows have been on for a long time. I know all the Law and Order ones are all each separate. They're separate like series.
Yeah.
But I think that show's been going on for
too long
time. Yeah. SVU's good.
Okay.
I always like that one. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of like crime serial ones that like seem to carry on.
You know which show I think overstayed its welcome, and I hate to say it, was 24. I was happy 24 ending at season 5. Then they brought it back for season 6 because season 5 ended when he got captured by the Chinese people, right, and taken.
Okay.
It's like, okay, season 6 they brought him back, which was kind of an absurd way, but like the way they brought him back. But I was like, okay, whatever,
like
cool.
not back from the dead or
No, they just were able to sneak him back into the United States.
Oh, so it didn't even end on a good note. The last
No, the last one ended on a down note, which is why it was so like, that's so cool. Actually, no, did that happen? No, okay. How did that work? Yeah, he had to hand himself over to the Chinese at the end of season 5. So I was just like, oh man, like all these things this man did, right? And he still gets shafted. Dang, that's like true. Like, I don't know, it just made you feel like really like pseudo patriotic, because obviously it's a TV show, but it was like, dang, that's cool, because then you kind of think about it and you're like, man, there's people in the armed forces that do stuff like this all the time, not getting handed over to the enemy, but like, what I mean, they come back and they don't get any thanks.
Yeah,
what I mean, so things like that. But I was like, man, that was a good way for the show to end. And then they brought him back. I was like, okay. And season 6, all right, I could play with season 6. It was all right. Season 6, I believe he was getting charged with no. Okay, season 6, he was in LA. He was doing something, and then at the end, it ends with him just staring off a cliff, because the dad of the lady that he was dating, like, because she ended up like looking for him in China, then she got captured and tortured, and then she's all whacked out now, and the guy's just like, I don't want you near her. He's just like, I remember the last scene of the show, he's just staring off into the sunset. I'm like, that is a shitty way for the show to end.
All 6 seasons. Okay, there's just the period of 6 days.
No. Well, 6 days amongst a period of like 10-15 years.
Oh wow.
But each season takes place over a day. But he had 6 incidents over like 15 years, which is like, what kind of America do you live in? Anyway, not the point. No, so it's the next season he gets brought in. He was living like peacefully, but he gets brought in again on war crimes, I believe, or was it? No. Okay, after season 6, the movie happens, which is Live Another Day, or no. No, Live Another Day is the miniseries. You see, this show lasted too long. 24 something, and he's in Africa. He's just working humanitarian aid work and stuff.
All right. So
and
Peace
then,
Corps. Sort
yeah, and then the government comes looking for him. And then his partner that he knew since his Green Beret days was like, hey man, they came looking for you. He's like, he goes, I can help you out. I have connections in the UN that we can get you proper paperwork to be here and a refugee, and they can't touch you. No, I don't want to put you through that. And he goes and packs his stuff up to leave, and then all of a sudden there's a military coup, like Coney and bullshit, and they overthrow the government, and so he has to decide, do I save these kids or do I save myself? And he ends up taking all the kids to the consulate and working them through the city and getting in gun battles and stuff. And then the government guy who went to get him sees him, right? And he goes, I'll bring the kids if you come too. He's like, no, just take the kids. I want to disappear. He's like, nope, kids only come if you come. And they start lifting the helicopter off, and he's like, fine. And so he goes. Season 7 starts with him getting charged with a bunch of stuff.
That's a crappy.
We're about to lose footage, by the way, or if we haven't already. But anyway, go on. I'm fine going on this. Yeah.
I can't imagine having to make that decision.
No, and then get this. So, after this all gets solved, he ends up helping the world through another crisis. The president gets kidnapped in the White House. So he ends up helping there, right? And then finally they're like, okay, you're cleared of all charges. Right?
Okay.
Come on. And the judge that's charging him is Red Foreman from 70 Show.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So then season 8, right? He's kicking it. He's on his own. He lives in New York with his daughter and her daughter, and then the lady's husband, right? They're kicking it, doing stuff, and they're like, oh, hey, we're gonna fly out to LA. We'd like you to come live with us. And he was like, I don't know. Well, I guess, all right. I'll meet you guys at the airport. I have to pack my stuff, and I'll get a flight out on the next one, right?
Right.
So they end up leaving. And then he ends up getting called into a reformed counterterrorist unit, because CTU was disbanded because of they supposedly committed war crimes during the first 5 seasons. And they do a lot of stuff like torture and stuff, you know what I mean? It's like black ops. Yeah. So anyway, New York CTU calls him in for help on some case, and they just want him like
a consultant?
Yeah, like a consultant. He's like, I don't want to do it, I'm leaving. And they're like, we really need you. He's like, no, I'm leaving. And as soon as he walks out of his apartment, someone shoots at him, and he's just like, I need the help. And he steals a car, he takes off, and he goes and meets the his contact, which he's gonna bring into CTU, and then that guy gets shot. And then he's just like, what were you gonna tell them? And he gives him a little SIM card, and he's like, there's a visual face palm. He goes from there, takes off to the the headquarters, and he's like, okay, here's your chip, I'm leaving. No, we really need you. And he's just like, and he calls his daughter, and he's like, hey, you know, it was a little late. And she's like, look, you know where you need to be. You always help people, blah, blah, blah. We'll be here when you want to come, you know?
Right.
Okay. So then he ends up helping him out. He meets this one lady that's like the female counterpart of him. They end up, you know, hitting it off pretty well and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she actually, I believe she worked with him in season 7.
Wait, I thought season 6 is where it ended.
No, season 7 came out, and that was the one where he got charged with all this bullshit. And he meets the same, like, okay, sorry, I gotta go back. See, there's too much stuff.
There's
in season 7, he meets this redhead chick, and she's the female version of him.
Right.
And then in season 8, he finds out that she's working undercover with like the Russian mob, and she's kind of gone a little like
she's a mole or a double agent,
yeah,
or something like that.
And then so he gets her out, and then tragically she ends up getting shot, and then so he ends up going off the haywire, and instead of catching the mobsters who are selling like arms to terrorists overseas, he kills them all, and then he just leaves. He literally just leaves. He just disappears. That was it. They can't find him again. Yeah,
generic warehouse.
It ends with him in the warehouse, like cradling the girl's body. Then his best friend Chloe comes in. She's like, "You need to go." He's like, "Where am I gonna go?" And she just gives him something, and then he walks out, and that's how it ends. And then you're just like, okay.
And that was the official end?
That was the official ending, where I was just like, he disappears again. Okay. And then so I imagine him like, he'd probably go back to do humanitarian work again, because they had offered him that position. You know, the guy he had known had told him, if this calms down, you can come back. And it was like, oh, he'd probably go to another country or something, you know, and do that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Then Live Another Day came out. So they rebooted the show, and it was supposed to be like a continuing miniseries where they were like, 24's ratings had been sliding, and we think it was because the season was too long. And I'm like, no, that's not why it was too long. It's because the show has been on for too long. You're running out of ideas. It was cool. There were set pieces and stuff, but it was too much. So what they did is they made this miniseries where it was only 12 episodes. They cut out a lot of the excess, and each one was like an hour and 20 minutes of like a crazy Michael Bay induced ride.
Like
it was the coolest.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it was the coolest thing ever. But that was the epitome of, that was too short. It was too short. The 12 episodes were too, they packed too much into each episode. They couldn't do it. Instead of saying, shave the fat off, you know, cut some of the fat off the show, some of the external details where we have 30 minutes of them hacking in real time, cut that out. And they were just like, okay. And then the writers instead decided, well, why don't we just make each episode 2 hours? You know, each episode is like a condensed version of 2 hours in their real time and just 1 in ours. So let's just put double the content in each episode. And I'm like, that's not what they meant. You know what I mean? They wouldn't skip, because they were saying, oh, we're going to have time skips, you know, where you're not going to see the boring stuff. And yes, they did, where it would be like 1 p.m. or, you know, 1:10 p.m., you know, Jack Bauer's driving, and then all of a sudden commercial break, and then it's 1:30 and he's where he needs to be. But I thought they were going to mean like he'd end up on a flight, and then obviously you're not going to see the 17 hours of his damn flight. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, they didn't do that. They literally were just like, yeah, the drive time, we're not showing that anymore. So that way we can pack more in the episode. I'm like, that's not what you're right. That's not what your producers meant. I highly doubt that's what they meant. And that show ends again with him getting captured. And then they finally just canceled. They canceled 24. They were like, yeah, it's not going to happen. They wanted to make a movie to finish the story off, because he got captured by some extremist British organization or something in exchange for the life of the U.S. president and the prime minister of England or Britain or whatever.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool, but I'm done. You know, and then they announced the movie. I was like, cool. And then they were like, yeah, the movie's in hiatus. And then Kiefer Sutherland's like, they never called me back. And I thought they were going to, because they set up this other character to be like the female British version of him. Wow. So I was just like, oh, they're going to make it more like an MI6. How many versions of him are there? Yeah, they're going to make it like an MI6 or something, you know?
Yeah.
And then they went nowhere with that, which I was disappointed with, because they spent the whole season setting her up for this, and then they didn't do it, you know?
Never happened.
Yeah, so that's my 10-minute example of a show that lasted way too long. It should have ended back in season 5. End of story.
End of story.
Yeah. Good show though. It's so good.
Is every minute really accounted for?
Just about the episodes. Well, okay, if you watched them on TV, yes, because commercial breaks would make it about 59 minutes. But if you watched it on DVD, each one's like 45 to 47 minutes. So sort of. But as you're watching it, yes, the ticker, sometimes the clock will come up and it's like 12:01, 12:01 and have the seconds, and they'll count down and the clock will move and then disappear. And then it'll come up, 10 minutes later it'll come up and it's actually 10 minutes have passed with them. But then when the commercial break hits, like 3 minutes will advance in time.
Right.
So it was real time when it aired on TV. Now it's a little condensed, just a little bit. But for the most part, if you watch a season, it's going to take you 22 hours. So yeah, just about.
That's cool.
Good show. Anyway, that topic lasted a little longer than I thought. Anyway, so with our lost footage, I apologize for that. It's not so much lost footage, it's that our camera has a recording limit. And it's hard-coded into the camera. There's no way to remove it. So it lasts between 18 and 20 minutes, 22 minutes, depending on what's being recorded and how much data is being processed. I was able to fix the formatting of the card to give us that extra buffer, but that's it. It can't go above 4 gigabytes for file size. I was able to get it to go up to 4.28. Again, that's variable. If there's a ton of stuff moving or too much light or something like that, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, hey, it happens. But we work with what we got, so I'll have something special for you guys. The technical difficulties thing. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so we'll be back. We're gonna take a short break.
Guys, it's Miguel from the Bits and Pieces podcast, and I just want to let you know to be sure to tune into Metal Gear Solid Mondays on twitch.tv/ArcticFox100 with me. I play a lot of different Metal Gear Solid games at 7-ish p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember, that's twitch.tv/ArcticFox100. And remember to keep it locked to the Bits and Pieces podcast, because they dope.
For our final topic of the evening. Lost my page again. I wrote election 1. So Isaac, you were stating to me that there were worries about things that the Obama administration had enacted. They would possibly change depending on who was elected for president this year.
Yeah. So one of those things, one of the big ones, was actually the Iran nuclear deal. So under that deal, there's like a removal of sanctions and stuff in exchange for like continued peace within the region of Iran, and among other things, obviously. We simply allow Iran to have a nuclear program, which was mainly for like power and research and stuff. A reason why so many people are opposed to it is because it allows a country in the Middle East to gather nuclear material, and what a lot of people on the side that opposes having had made that deal was that they might use that nuclear material to build nuclear weapons. So, as far as Obama was concerned, he was thinking, they're likely not ever going to build a nuclear weapon, so why not just let them have the ability to purchase and, I guess, stockpile that nuclear material to build a nuclear program for clean electric power, clean in quotes. So
yeah, clean except for all the waste
and the radiation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the plan there.
Shout out to Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob. That's how they got created.
Yeah. So yeah, the thing is, with this election that's coming up, there is a possibility that we will get an odd choice of president inside the Oval Office who might decide to say, you know what, Iran, we're going to go back on what we said about what you could have as your program, your electric program in your country, and we're just not going to let you have it. Problem being that there were already other countries that were signed on. So countries that had sanctions against Iran before it are now not, or have removed those sanctions and are now like trading and doing stuff with Iran now. And they're unlikely to go back on their word. So if we say, nah, Iran, just kidding, basically it'll just be us. And so it kind of like takes away our teeth, because if it's just us, Iran can still trade with the entire world.
Everybody else, yeah. And
But
real quick clarification: by odd choice of president, you mean a salmon roll, or a human embodiment of a Cheeto? Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter, or Professor Dumbledore from Harry Potter, right? Those are our three. Those are our three big name candidates.
Well, okay, yeah. Preferably, I'd like Albus Dumbledore,
I like my Cheetos to not talk and not be from New York
and not have a toupee,
and not be racist. Yeah,
and not have a tower named after them.
Cheeto Tower. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's something really interesting to consider. So that also poses the question of, like, where's America going with this next election? Because there's 3 options as of now, and 2 of them seem very likely. One of them seems unlikely, and it's the unlikely one that inspires the most hope for humanity. But
Feel the burn. My grandma's a Bernie bro.
she is.
Mm-hmm. She's like 100% for Bernie Sanders. She also saw the some of the hidden press photos of Bernie Sanders when he wears his ILWU jacket, and she's just like, "Isn't that your dad's union?" I was like, "Yes." And she was like, "Why is he wearing the jacket?" I was like, "Because they gave it to him." And then he's like, he got teared up when they gave it to him. He was like, "Thank you, you know, it's a big honor." So now he wears it like a lot. And those are some of the photos that are really hard to find because of the fact that nobody wants to take him. Like, they see him with that jacket and they're just like, no. Because that's like semi-political suicide. Okay. It can go both ways when you're wearing an ILWU jacket as a politician.
Yeah.
It can be, dang, this person is going to win all of the West Coast. Or it can be political suicide, depending on where your policies sit. His is still kind of a wild card because it's like, okay, he could win the West Coast, you know, or at least California, but it's just like, Also, you cut what little media,
support you
had in half, because now the media is like, we always talk crap about the International Longshore Warehouse Union, and we don't want to report you having that jacket on. For example, he talked in New York and he had that jacket on, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, my grandma's a Bernie bro.
That's pretty cool. Well, I don't think, like, maybe mainstream media being
mainstream
like TV
media
and cable and stuff like that, but over internet, like internet news outlets,
the LWU's dispatcher newspaper, they have all the pictures of him at various rallies wearing the jacket. So it's pretty cool.
So that's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. This election is interesting though. I hope people understand though, you don't have to. Bernie Sanders doesn't have to win the nomination to run for president.
Right.
It's very likely, I think, that he might even like lose the nomination and then decide, well, I'm gonna run as a third party candidate. Restart the Socialist Party. Let's do this.
That'd be great.
Hey, he might, because how do you get your name on the ballot? You don't even need to
run as a different party.
You don't even need to run as a party. You can just run
as D's nuts.
Yeah, run as D's nuts. Don't you just have to like have a certain amount of funding, and then that's it? To get your name on the ballot, so you're not a write-in. I thought you just had to pass a certain amount of campaign funding, and that's it.
I'm not quite sure how that part works. Have to look that up. But I was almost like I think you had to like write yourself up, and then you had to go to this place to certify yourself to be in the election.
Well, that's what D's nuts did.
No, actually, he never went because
he's D's nuts. But yeah, so Bernie Sanders can likely still run, or likely still like have a good shot.
Yeah.
Because what that would do is pull like a good 50% of the votes away from, or 50%. But let's just split it down the middle. Yeah, it's 50% possible. And hey, he's gonna have to work really hard for the ones that we're gonna, the Democrats that we're gonna vote for him. and Hillary Clinton's gonna have to work a lot harder too. But what that does is it splits a previously semi-unified party away from Donald Trump. However, we have still yet to see the Republican convention.
Yeah, well, there was an interesting poll that I was looking at the other day. I'm not quite sure how recent it is.
Bye, Jax.
But as the poll ran, Hillary is behind Trump by 2 points nearly everywhere. However,
except for women, which Trump wholeheartedly needs.
However, Bernie Sanders beats Trump by, I think, a 12 to 20 point lead. So if Hillary realistically were to just drop out of the race, it's unlikely she ever would. But if she were, well, Bernie Sanders would handily have this election in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the other thing is still too is that, it's not over.
Yeah, it's definitely not over.
He's stayed at a constant 280 to 300 behind her.
Right.
He needs to win California with a huge majority, but it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
And the media outlets are saying it's not possible. Google just barely recently split up the delegate count, how they count it, amongst super delegates and regular ones, where you can actually see the cut. He's only this much off. He's only a certain amount off. He's not 500-600 away. And super delegates aren't pledged until June.
Right.
The time the first time that Barack Obama ran, he was behind overall. And then all of a sudden, the party said, hey, we're going to back him super delegate wise. Sorry, Hillary, you're not going to win. Because there's 500 super delegates, and that just pushed him over. She still could have kept running, and likely could have won and wrestled the nomination away. But the thing was, it was why? Now.
Yeah.
But she was ahead of him in delegates. And then, the super delegates jumped to his side, and because he was the more viable candidate, it was going to get them the win. You know, so, the super delegates in the Democratic Party aren't stupid. Even if the media is doing this whole dog and pony show about, Bernie should just drop out, Hillary, is going to win, this and that, she needs to start focusing on her fight against Trump. They know that Hillary has this FBI case against her.
Right.
Just like the Republican Party knows that Trump is probably going to get sued for his Trump University bullshit.
Or impeached, really.
Impeached, exactly. So, everybody's looking for a way out. However, Hillary is less likely to piss off so many people where she gets impeached. And so, they're looking at this that's why Bernie Sanders hasn't left, because I'm sure the people higher up aren't telling him, hey, dude, it's over. Nobody's telling him anything. They might be hey, maybe you should think about it. But he's no, because I know how that works. I know how the numbers work. And I know I can still win.
You couldn't even really, even pose that, because at the end of the election, it's still the Electoral College who chooses.
Yeah, but for the primaries, you know what I mean? But yeah, if he were to still run as a third party candidate and then keep going, right?
Yeah.
And then he gets to the end, gets really close to all the general votes, right?
Yeah.
Say Trump gets all the generals, and then all of a sudden, the Electoral College would be we want Bernie C, Bernie S, we want Bernie S, we want to fill the burn, right? And then Trump's gonna be this system's rigged, and it's it's been rigged for the past 200 years.
Yeah, definitely.
You were never going to win this election. That's what I hope. I hope people step up and start. That's what bugs me the most. I hate generalizing people and putting them all in one group. But this is the thing. If you're a Republican voter and you haven't started telling your friends, hey, maybe Trump is not a good idea, you should, because he's not a great idea. This is the thing. He's running a platform of hate. He doesn't actually have policies. If you want to stand here, if someone were to come up to me and say, I know what his policies are, and explain them at length, coherently, rather than just saying he wants to build a wall, he wants to kick out Muslims, and he wants to lower taxes. If you actually told me how does he plan to do each one, then I'd be good. But right now, I support stronger border security.
Right.
I'm a supporter of that, of having more, but you see, with the caveat, if you're going to have a stronger border, you need to have a more comprehensive way to gain citizenship and immigrate legally.
Right.
Because currently you don't. That's it's
you need a more straight, like a better pipeline to immigrating here.
And it comes from that idea of like piracy, right?
Right.
If you make your content easier to consume legally, people aren't going to go through the trouble of piracy. But when you make it more of a hassle to consume legally than it is to pirate, people pirate.
Right.
You know, I subscribe to that idea. So if you make it easier to immigrate legally than it is to cross the desert, you know, and risk your life, then, you know, you're likely going to do that instead.
Right.
You know, and I'm not saying like just stamp everybody, yes, but just make it more straightforward. Don't lose paperwork, hire more workers, you know, have more people that understand how to file this paperwork, switch to a digital system maybe, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. You know, it's so archaic, it's stuck in the 80s. Do something a little easier. But, you know, in turn, I say, yeah, stronger border security because I do believe there's a problem. You know, it's not like Trump said, oh, every Mexican's a rapist. No, but if you look at the border towns in Arizona and Texas, you know, those cartels just kind of drive across with drugs and shit, and people are dying, cattle's getting shot, you know, houses are getting shot at right on the border, and nobody does anything.
Right.
That is a problem, and that is a big problem. Will stronger border fix it? Probably not. But will it be a better show of force and say, hey, we're here for you? You know, it will go a long way with gaining the trust of those people that live in those border towns.
Yeah.
Which are the ones that Trump is appealing to, you know, because right now those people may not have hate in their minds, but currently that's the only candidate that supports their interest.
Right.
So strongly, at least so they think, you know, so some of those people, even if they're not hateful or racist, they're being like, well, he is supporting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and for them, the deal breaker is stronger border security. And guess what? He fulfills that deal. So, you know, I guess, well, we'll deal with everything else, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I tell people when you go to vote, think about it. Think about, okay, I have 2 deal breakers, you know, one of which is pro-choice and not being an asshole. You know, if you're pro-choice and you are not an asshole, you're good. But if you're not pro-choice, deal broken. You know, if you're what is it? Pro-life, right?
Yeah.
If you're pro-life, deal broken. That's it. I'm not voting for you because I can't support someone who's so ignorant to say that women don't have control of their bodies. Hey! All right. Nope. Jax, come here. Come on, up here. Yeah, there you go.
Sparks.
Yeah, separate the dogs. But yeah, so you know what I mean, and that's so for those people, that's their deal breaker. But like Trump just says, we're building a wall. That's it. We're building a wall, and we're gonna make Mexico pay for it. And it's like, okay, why? Because all Mexicans are rapists. It's like that is such a hateful way to present this. You could have presented that in such a better way, you know? Like, you know what I mean? There was a so much better way to say that, you know, or we're gonna kick out all the Muslims. It's like, okay, well, good luck doing that. How are you you have a turban on, are you a Muslim? It's like, no, I'm not.
I'm a Sikh.
Okay, great, thanks. You know what I mean? Okay, thanks for your input. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, how are you supposed to do that? And it's just such a message of, hey, there are better ways to say this. They're stupid ideas, but there are better ways to say it where it doesn't make you seem like a jerk.
Yeah.
But the thing is hey, this is the bad part, is that his this election is making it's bringing out the people that should have stayed hidden, you know? I have friends that I thought were educated, and they're not. It's not even a difference of being educated and not. It's a difference between being ignorant, you know, and hateful versus being, you know, wise of the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not okay to be racist, but this is making it okay. You know, you look at those rallies, you know, it's just
yeah. Those are
it's
crazy
not
rallies.
okay. That is not okay behavior for anybody in a civilized nation, but this is making people think it is, you know?
Right.
And it's so baffling why, even if you support all his so-called policies, how can you stand for someone that, you know, allows, you know, white nationalists to be part of his campaign? You know, that he, you know, he doesn't disavow them. He's like totally fine with them, or acts so ignorant to say he doesn't know who the KKK is, you know?
It was funny. Wasn't it some time ago that he had a rally where like someone got shot and like he had to like reply to the media and he says, "I have passionate supporters."
Yeah.
That was like ridiculous.
And it's baffling, and it's kind of, and it's like, I don't know, and then we have Ted Cruz, fucking Zodiac killer. I don't know who I prefer. And Marco Rubio, I don't understand how people like.
Well, they're not even running anymore.
No, they're not running. Well, okay, they suspended their campaign. They're still getting votes. Ben Carson is still getting votes. Ben Carson beat Marco Rubio in votes in the last state.
That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty sad. It bugs me. And what bugs me is back to the topic of like not wanting to generalize people, but it's like the Republican Party, there's people that need to step up and get realistic and say, hey, maybe this isn't the right party to support. I want to be conservative, but this party is full of hateful people. Let me find a real conservative party if that's how you lean, or women. I don't understand how you can support candidates that don't support your interests. Your interests should be in your body. Even if you don't support abortion, you should support other females having the choice of it. Saying...
Or at the very least, have access to medical care.
Exactly. I don't understand how you can say, we keep church and state separate, and then you're just like, God will hate you if you get an abortion. So it's like, I honestly think God doesn't give a fuck. He's not going to spite you for choosing the best for your life. This isn't a baby. This is a fetus. This is not a thing yet. It is an organism. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a parasite. It's a parasite until it becomes a living thing.
Right.
It's just a parasite. Kill it. You kill fucking worms and snails every day. Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't it baffles me as to how you can be like, yo, I'm like, it just, it bugs because I'm just like, okay, I say I don't support, gay marriage or whatever, but that doesn't mean that someone should not have the choice to be able to get married to who they love, even if I don't support it. For the record, I do support it. That's totally fine. Do you. You do you. There's people, I don't support gay marriage. Okay, well then, don't you think they should still be able to? No, because God hates gays. And it's like, dude, God hates you. I hope when we're at the AC, I combine Christianity and Catholicism. It's like, I hope when we're at the gates and St. Peter's like, hey, yo, you got enough Jesus points? And I'm just like, yes, I do, St. Peter. I supported pro-choice gay marriage. And he's just like, all right, come on in. And the person behind me is that asshole that was standing outside Planned Parenthood. And just like, God hates you and God hates gays. And he's just going to be like, yo, you got enough Jesus points? And the guy's like, yeah, I was following the word of the Lord. And he's just like, I don't know whose translation you were reading. Sorry. Get the fuck out.
I like how your interpretation of that works. Jesus points.
Yeah, it's a tangible way to be able to figure out if you're doing. It's like karma.
It's like okay. It's like
but this is the thing. You can never do something while thinking you're gonna earn Jesus points because then you don't get any.
Oh, okay.
But if you do something good without thinking of the Jesus points, it's likely you earned a few.
Okay.
Yeah. Live like Christ did.
Live like Christ.
Be a baller.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah, what would Jesus do? I want to get one of those bracelets and then just like be like, man, what would Jesus do? And then do something that people would be like, Jesus wouldn't do that. And it's just like, come on, Jesus would.
You use it ironically.
Yeah. Well, I told you about the book I was reading once, right? Lamb. And it's like about Jesus when he was little and like when he grows up and he has a best friend named Biff.
Really?
Yeah.
Biff?
And like my favorite part so far, I had to restart it because I dropped off. My favorite part so far is Jesus is eating breakfast with his parents.
Right.
And then he shows his mom and he's just like, hey, check this out. Look what I did. And then he has his face on a piece of bread. And then she's like, oh, how cool. They know what's up. They know he's the son of God, right?
Right.
But then like Biff takes off because his mom's like, hey, this weird burn mark in your toast this morning looks like your friend. And he's just like, oh my God. And he takes off to Jesus' house. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, look what I made. And he has a bunch of toast with his face on it. He's like, you're making everyone's toast have your face on it. He's like, oh. And it's just like, I don't remember what happens after that. But it's funny. It's just like,
that's hilarious. That sounded like comedic relief.
Yeah, it's a good book. And it's funny because I remember somebody telling me, oh, that's a book written by an atheist. It's like, no, the man is actually really strong in his Christian faith. It's just, he can laugh. Yeah. He has a sense of humor, Right. And if you don't have a sense of humor, then what's the point?
Yeah, because I know people who are like really sensitive about it. Like you can't kind of like direct any kind of joke to their faith or whatever.
And that's fine. I respect that. But at the same time, it's like.
But if you can't laugh about it or like.
Then I don't think you're comfortable in your faith, right? If you can't.
Well, I mean.
Or comfortable in whatever your belief is if you can't If
Yeah,
you
if
can't
you can't-
argue
if
it
you
or you
can't,
can't
like,
stand criticism
giggle
or you
about
can't
it.
giggle about it, yeah.
Yeah, like there might be some discrepancies with your faith, and some people are capable of like looking at that and just like getting a chuckle out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's
It's
some people
funny.
that like see it as an attack on their faith.
Yeah, and it's like it's not. It's just a satire, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know. I mean, I'm a supporter of satire, and I think, you know, if I'm so supportive of something that I'm willing to make a joke about, it means because I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable being where I'm at. You know, I'm
Right.
comfortable defending my belief against whatever. You know, whether it be, you know, in whatever religion I choose or what program I think is the best to edit, you know, the podcast, or whether I'm pro-life or pro-choice or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like I feel comfortable and settled in that I'm good at making jokes. You know,
Right.
like I'll talk crap about Bernie Sanders all day. But
Right.
as it stands, you know, I'm comfortable saying, yeah, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. I may not be out there every day because that's not the type of supporter I am. But I'm like, you know, if someone asks me, you know, I try to explain what he'll do.
Yeah.
You know, to the best of my ability. But yeah, I'm not ground roots, unfortunately. And some people will be like, oh, well, you're not helping. It's like, well, then bye. I guess I'm not helping. You know, you're not earning Jesus points. That's what you're doing. You're being mean to me.
Oh God.
Anyway, people are going to get so upset with us.
Yeah. I don't really. Even
Hey, it's my
care.
podcast. I do what I want.
Whatever.
Anyway, well, I guess we'll just end it because I know our footage is cut again. But it's just like I don't want to have to. Oh, we're taking another break.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, this has been the Bits and Pieces podcast, episode 51 with a ton of lost footage.
Tons.
Tons of lost footage. Anyway, this is actually a really long episode. We might be able to split it into multiple parts.
That might be good.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. This has been Nick
And Isaac.
and we are the Bits and Pieces podcast, or at least part of them. And you know, as always, we'll see you guys next time.